Hi, this is John once again for our third and final squat assessment video. In our first video, we covered 6 major dysfunctions in the overhead squat. In the second video, we broke each of those dysfunctions down and looked at the probable cause of those dysfunctions. Now in this third final video, what we're going to do, we're going to take those dysfunctions and we're going to take 3 corrective exercises, real general exercises, to target each one of those dysfunctions. Now it's important to understand that squat is a very complex movement pattern. And these corrective exercises may not work for everyone, but they're real general exercises that should target a majority of the dysfunctions. Our first corrective exercise is going to be to mobilize the ankle. Now in our previous video, when using your heel lift on the overhead squat, if your dysfunction corrected, we can somewhat safely assume that the lack of dorsal flexion of the ankle might be the cause of that dysfunction, or at least that's where we want to start, because everything's going to be built on the ankle. We're going to work our way from the ground, work our way up. So for this exercise, I'm going to have Caleb stand about 6 inches from the wall. He's going to keep his heel planted firmly on the ground, and what he's going to do is he's going to drive his knee down and forward into the wall until he makes contact. As he's doing that, while keeping his heel down, you should feel a good stretch running down the back of his calf. If this is pretty easy for him, I'm going to have him take just a little baby step back and keep challenging him until he can barely touch the wall. Now once he makes contact with the wall, what he's going to do, he's going to contract his calf by pushing through the bottom of his big toe and pulling his knee back. He's going to work his leg back and forth like a piston. We're going to do this 10 to 15 times. Each time he does that, you should feel a little less restricted in that ankle. You should feel a little more dorsal flexion, a little more mobility in that ankle. Again, you want to do that about 10 to 15 times. In our second corrective exercise, we're going to address pelvic stability and glute activation. Now this is a good all-around exercise for valgus collapse of the knees, forward body lean, and an asymmetrical weight shift left or right. So what we're going to have Caleb do, we're going to take this tennis ball, he's going to put this inside his groin here, hip flexor, and he's going to pull his knee all the way to his chest. What that's going to do is put Caleb into a posterior tilt in the hips. Now as long as Caleb keeps this tennis ball inside his groin here, he's not going to be able to shift forward with his hip. I'm going to have Caleb walk his right heel back so he's about 90 degrees when he comes up to his top position here. Rock back onto his heel so his toes are off the ground. This is going to make sure that his posterior side of his leg's working and he's not using his thigh to come up. So what Caleb's going to do is he's going to come up to a hip bridge all the way up. His goal is going to be to get his knee, his hip, and his shoulder all on that same plane. As he comes up, he's going to exhale, he's going to blow out, and that's going to even put him a little bit more into posterior tilt. Now Caleb's going to hold that position for about 3 seconds. He's going to come down, reset, take a deep breath in, reset himself, and he's going to come all the way up again. Really contracting that right glute, forcing that pelvic into a posterior tilt. Caleb's going to do this about 5 to 8 times on each side. Now if you have an asymmetrical weight shift, you probably want to do twice on the side that you're shifting away from. So if you shift your hips to your left, you probably want to do double on your right side to really make sure that right glute is active. Again, this is going to be a good all-around corrective exercise for pelvic stability. And you can do this about 5 to 8 times on both legs. Our third and final corrective exercise is going to look at the upper back or the thoracic spine, basically from rib cage to the bottom of the rib cage to your shoulder. Now this corrective exercise is going to play a role in arms drop, and it also can play a role in forward body lean. So we're going to go through kind of 3 progressions on this exercise. The first one's going to be the easiest, and then we're going to progress to the hardest one. So first one, I have Caleb turn around and face the wall. I'm going to have Caleb walk his toes all the way up to the wall. I'm going to have him keep his nose about 1 inch away from the wall. Once he's in this position, I'm going to have him bring his elbows up to 90 degrees. Now what Caleb's going to do, he's going to take a deep breath in, and he's going to exhale and reach all the way up to the ceiling. Now as he does this, you want to make sure he keeps his shoulders depressed. So he's got a lot of stability in the scapula, the shoulder blade, and he's good and mobile in the shoulder joint. Once he gets to the top here, he's going to hold for about 1 or 2 seconds. He's going to take a deep breath in, come back to the starting position or neutral, and then he's going to do the same thing on the way down, exhaling all the way down. Now as Caleb does this, you want to make sure that his forearm stays nice and vertical throughout the whole exercise. So his forearm should stay parallel throughout the whole process. So you take a deep breath in, return to neutral. He's going to go all the way up. Now in this exercise, you can go anywhere about 10 to 15 times until you really feel a good release in the upper back. Now once this becomes easy for Caleb, I'm going to turn him around and put his back against the wall. Same rules apply with this. I'm going to have him keep his shoulders against the wall. Now with this one with his back against the wall, he's going to have the tendency to want to put a little arch in his lower back. So I'm going to ask him to draw his belly button in, try to keep his lower back stuck against the wall. So go ahead, bring your elbows up to 90 again. He's going to do the same procedure, keeping his chin tucked in, looking straight ahead. He's going to inhale and exhale and reach up as high as he can. Try to keep his elbows and his wrists against the wall throughout the whole process. He's going to take a deep breath in, come back down, and then go all the way down as he exhales. Again, making sure his forearms stay nice and vertical, trying to keep that wrist as close to the wall as he can. The last exercise in this step, or the hardest one in this progression, is going to be sitting down. So I have Caleb go ahead and sit down on a chair, or even all the way down on the floor. Now when he's sitting down, it's really going to prevent him from arching his lower back and really keep him connected here with his rib cage. So go ahead. Now when Caleb's in this position, it's going to be really difficult for him to get back all the way to the wall. But again, the same steps. As he comes up, he's going to exhale, trying to keep his elbows all the way against the wall. Deep breath in, and he's going to go all the way down. Okay, go ahead and do a couple more. Again, this is going to be a real good general exercise to not only stabilize the scapula, but also mobilize the glenohumeral joint, or the shoulder joint. So those are 3 very general corrective exercises to correct a broad spectrum dysfunction. You can perform these exercises virtually any time throughout the day, but you're going to get your best results if you do them prior to your squat workout as part of your warm-up. These corrective exercises are definitely not going to hit every single dysfunction, and they're definitely not going to hit everyone in the population, but I believe they'll hit a large percentage of the dysfunction and a large percentage of the population. I hope these exercises work well for you, and I hope you enjoyed the videos.